I wrestled for Penn State. We, one of our trips, our road trips in 1956 was to Columbus, Ohio, to wrestle Ohio State University. They moved me up from 157 to 167, and I think I met the captain of the Ohio State team that afternoon. I did take him down, and we went off of the mat, and then he came back on the mat, and I was on top, and he did a stand, and I ran him off the mat, tried to stay with him, and we went into the bleachers, and he hurt his ankle badly and couldn't continue, and I won by forfeit, and I was thrilled that I did win by forfeit, because I think if it would have gone the distance, he was a pretty tough customer. He would have probably beaten me. Maybe not. But here I am today. Penn State is an undefeated football team, 8-0 at this point, going against Ohio State this evening. Two great teams. No matter who does win, it will be the best team. And we are Big Ten. I love the Big Ten. I was very pleased when Penn State went into the Big Ten. What may happen tonight will be an historic event. I was very fortunate to find an old gristmill that was built back in 1822, and I fished around this gristmill as a child, and never did I dream that this old gristmill would be my home today. And so with a lot of hard labor and a lot of frustrations, put this old gristmill together, and it is today my home. But I also had, with this gristmill came a good chunk of Spring Creek. And I have a nice trout population. And so I've been living in this mill now for 43 years. I've seen a lot of trout come and go in Spring Creek. I think I call them my children, my little finny children. And so I've seen several generations come and go. They are my pets. My experience in first grade was basically a disaster. I was a left-hander. My first grade teacher was a very strict woman. She weighed about 275. Frightening to me. When I would pick up the chalk with the left hand at the blackboard, she had a ruler. Back in those days, nobody was too bright with their left hand, and so she would smack my hand with a ruler, and she had me so screwed up. I didn't know whether I was writing forwards or backwards, and so that experience through my first year in school kind of set the tone for the ensuing few years. I didn't have an interest in school. The only thing I wanted to do was fish. And so in 1941, my parents bought me a book, Ray Bergman, Just Fishing, and it became my Bible. And then I started to have an interest in reading through Ray Bergman and fly fishing and basically fishing. And so it kind of turned my life around, and it gave me a drive to succeed. And so I think about this when I'm working with children. How can I help these kids? It's been a great, it was a great influence in my life. Now, one of the things I was so fortunate relative to living close to Spring Creek, I could get on my bicycle And right after school, all of the kids in grade school, when we get on our bicycles, right after the bell rang, when in April, right after the season opened, we would pedal to Spring Creek or one of the tributaries and try to beat each other to our favorite holes. And this was a way of life. And so all my and the summertime experiences were wonderful due to the fact that I would get up in the morning, pack a lunch, several peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a bottle of milk, and fish all morning from early morning. And then a gang of us would probably lots of times go skinny dipping in a local deep hole. And but I learned so much in those early years. I would lay on the ground and with my bib overalls, and the dew was on the grass, and I would be soaked, just crawling around trying, because I knew the approach to the waters. There was a lot of water clarity, and the fish did spook easily, and so to get into position, it was a trial, an arduous program. But then I would, and I learned line control. I learned what the insect population was, freshwater shrimp and crest bugs, basically, on the limestone spring creeks, and I did catch fish, and it was a wonderful experience. For 2 years, I had a chance to coach. I was an assistant coach under Bill Cole. Bill Cole was wrestled for Iowa State Teachers College, and he was a two-time national champion. And his record for Iowa State Teachers College was 72-0, never defeated. He was never taken down, never ridden. He was a 2 or 3-time national champion, outstanding wrestler. And his quote when I was coaching and working with him, his statement to the team was this, and it stayed with me, and it's so true. The basic fundamentals, refined to perfection, are your most advanced techniques. And so it goes with fly fishing. Your basic fundamentals, that very short casting stroke, this is what gets you into fish. It gets you into places that you couldn't get otherwise. These are the basics. Refined to perfection are your most advanced techniques. I have Pennsylvania's largest trout, a fly-caught trout. For 11 years it was the largest trout caught. It was a 34-inch, 16-pound brown trout. And fishing at night, this is when the big fish feed. Big trout become. So it was, on this date, it was in August of, I believe, 1977, August the 8th. It was at night. Actually, it was 3 years before this, but I was fishing this patch of water. Thought a deer had jumped off the bank. There was an explosion in the water. But then I didn't hear the deer run out of the water, and I knew it was a fish. And so the quest began. And so I fished for this fish for 3 years. I would work basically the tail of this big long run. And then one time, George Harvey, knowing that I was after this fish, said, "Why don't you try working the riffs?" In the riffles, this is where your food chain comes alive. Sculpins are alive at night. This is when they move at night. Your nymphal activity comes alive at night. And he said, other fish are easier to trap. So there's some backwater next to that riff that big fish could be coming up in there to trap another fish. He said, well, so maybe you want to think about working the riffs.